All right, welcome to another edition of The Box People. So we have a new segment we are bringing you, and this is about unsolved mysteries, mostly because it is one of our favorite things, and we thought, why not talk about it? So there is one that I had not heard of, and I came across it the other night on TikTok, and then researched it to make sure it was actually a real case. And so I just wanted to bring it to you guys, and then what we're going to do is we're also going to post the link to the TikTok a little thing so that you can see it for yourself. It's pretty creepy. And also, it'd be really nice to get that video out because you just never know, right? So this is about the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. On February 14th, 2017, the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German were discovered near the Monon High Bridge Trail. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is part of the Delphi Historic Trails in Delphi, Indiana, United States, after the young girls had disappeared from the same trail the previous day. The murders have received significant media coverage because a video and audio recording of an individual believed to be the girl's killer were found on German's smartphone. Despite thousands of tips that have been sent to the police and the circulation of the recordings of the suspect, no arrests in the case have been made. So in the video that I'm talking about that we're going to share with you, it shows the girls on train tracks, and one of them is recording the other one, and then they realize there is a man behind them. And so one of the girls is wise enough to start recording the man that is behind them. Now, I know as a 47-year-old woman, if I am walking and there is someone behind me, it is going to be terrifying. One of the things I am grateful for is at least these young girls had each other in this case. I cannot imagine had they not had each other. So it says at 1:35 p.m. on Monday, February 13th, 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty were dropped off by German's older sister, Kelsey German, on Country Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. The girls were hiking on the Moonin Bridge over Deer Creek among woodland and remote Deer Creek Township. At 2:07, Libby posted a photo of Abby walking the bridge. After this, they were never heard from again. They were reported missing at 5:30 after they failed to meet Liberty's father at 3:15. The families initially searched for the girls themselves before calling the police. Authorities who quickly searched the area did not initially suspect foul play in the disappearance. However, this changed when the bodies of the girls were found around noon the next day. So this is from Wikipedia where we're getting this information. Police have not released details of how the girls were murdered. As early as February 15th, 2017, Indiana State Police began circling a still image of an individual reportedly seen on the Moonin High Bridge Trail near where the two friends were slain. The grainy photograph appears to capture a Caucasian male, hands in pockets, walking on the road bridge, head down towards the girls. A few days later, the person in the photograph was named the prime suspect in the double homicide. On February 22nd, law enforcement released an audio recording where the voice of the suspect, though in some degree muffled, is heard to say, "down the hill." It was at this news conference that officials credited the source of the audio and imagery to German's smartphone and further regarded her as a hero for having had the uncanny foresight and fortitude to record the exchange in secret. Police indicated that additional evidence from the phone had been secured, but that they did not release it so as not to compromise any future trial. On July 17th, officers distributed a composite sketch of someone who, at that time in the investigation, was sought as a person of prime interest in the murders. And it had what?
It was a composite.
There it is. Yeah, that's the one. I was, yeah. So, you guys, I just gotta say, number one, just as a mama bear, that I cannot even begin to imagine if I did not know. When you have a child, it is like watching your own heartbeat walk around outside your body, because everything in your life is is basically wrapped up in this person. And so I can't imagine not knowing where my child was, who had hurt them, where that person who hurt them might be, and if they were hurting somebody else. So we just want to say that we are going to put up the footage that we found on TikTok. We are going to place that, and you know, it's been it's going to be 4 years next month, right? Because it happened in February, I believe. So we are just going to bring some light to this, and we are going to put it up. You know, and then again, if you know anything, they're you know, contact someone. But Tina is going to take over from here and share a couple cases that she wanted to talk about.
Well, I just want to say what you will about TikTok. The one thing I absolutely love about TikTok is the attention it brings to these necessary stories. And it really blows them up. And I hope that this is one of those stories that ends up solved and the family can have some sort of closure. But it brings me back because YouTube, the same thing. Social media can be so powerful for these things, and it reminded me a little bit of the unsolved murder of, well, the murders actually of Elisa Lamb and Kanika Jenkins, who both mysteriously died in hotels, motels, and the great thing about social media, it can be used to bring attention to these matters. And then you have people that will really investigate and notice things that maybe cops or detectives didn't pick up on. But I mean, it differs from this story, but like with Elisa Lamb and Kanika Jenkins, and I think it's important that we bring these unsolved murders back up, because sometimes you have one pair of eyes that picks up on something that nobody else did, could potentially solve something. But with these two young ladies, that Kanika and Elisa, there was footage, and in both cases, it looks like the footage was messed with because a lot of things didn't make sense. Elisa Lamb ends up in a water tower, where there was no way, apparently, she could have gotten up to the roof without setting off alarms. There was no way.
And wasn't there like a special key you had to have even to get up there?
Yeah, security. There was no way she could have lifted, apparently, by herself, lifted the cover of the water tower. The strange behavior in the elevator, which looks like she could have been,
as if she's trying to get away from someone, or even if she's arguing with someone.
And it, yeah, and
at that point, you brought it up. Tina brought this up, that there is we just have to bring it up because it's odd. So there is a point where she's actually, it looks like she's, and to me that was so odd because it almost looks like she's swimming.
I've never seen it talked about, but that's the first thing I noticed. It's like she was already, but other people have speculated. I know because, and when you have anxiety or panic attack, sometimes you feel like you can't feel anything and you do these strange movements. But people have looked on the timestamp of that video and there's sections missing. Why are we editing this security? It also looks like people have pointed out that there was someone in the video that was like cut out, because we can do that, right? We can do that. Okay. And then also the fact that the second she steps out of the elevator doors close when she was frantically pushing buttons and nothing was happening.
Right.
And then with Kanika Jenkins, who was 19 years old, went to a hotel party, I believe, and you see her acting funny walking down a hallway, like looked like she was maybe drunk, or people speculated that maybe she either took drugs or somebody slipped her something. And she ends up in the hotel's kitchen, and then that's the last you see of her. The next day her body's found in the freezer. And I remember the mother, rightfully so, you know, crying and screaming and freaking out. And they wouldn't even let her like look at the footage. It's just so weird. It makes you think in both. It almost makes you think it's not. I'm not saying, but it almost makes you think it's the same person that did
Right.
it because like it's some sort of hotel motel employee because of the way it happened. Like someone accessed with to the security room, but supposedly the Cecil where
Richard
Elisa was.
Ramirez. Wasn't that the same place Richard
Yes,
Ramirez stayed? And wasn't there another serial killer that
Ted Bundy? Was Ted Bundy one of them?
I'm gonna look that up real quick just to fact check that because
A
I
lot of
feel
a
like
lot of weird things happen in the Cecil, and there's a lot of speculation while Sonny's looking that up around Elisa's murder. One of them being that, which I find a little harder to believe, that she knew about stealth technology where you could be invisible, and that explains her weird behavior because whoever is talking to her is invisible, and that would rightfully freak you out. And
I am looking it up right now. It says numerous incidents of death and violence have occurred at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Timeline of incidents. Wow. That's a whole nother thing. There is
well, the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, apparently would walk in and out of that hotel like soaked in blood. And it was like, I don't know, like, I don't know if it was a normal thing where people didn't really say anything or they were just afraid, which I would be. But there's been, right, multiple suicides and unexplained events at the Cecil. Cecil is
well,
closed now.
I believe it was opened in like the 30s. And when you look, there is a timeline of events that we could share. But it's crazy of all the deaths and things that have happened there.
And
Um,
also that movie Dark Water that came out. I don't know if that came out before or after Elisa. I think it was actually before, which makes it even weirder. Elisa Lamb's incident where the water is dirty because people
yeah,
notice
so
the water being dirty because of a body in the water tower. But I think Kanika Jenkins' death was a little different because it wasn't at the Cecil. I think it was at a everyday, your average hotel. But I think it is important to bring up these unsolved cases because there's some really smart people out there on the internet that may have not heard of these stories, and by bringing attention to these stories, it can.
I did not realize, but did you know the Black Dahlia, the Black Dahlia
Yeah, yeah,
was I did not know that
yeah, yeah,
stayed at the Cecil.
yeah.
That
The Cecil is closed now, and there is
no,
a.
they're opening back up now, I thought.
Well, I know it's been closed for a while, and there is a young man that that lives across the street from the Cecil and films stuff all the time, like weird. And I think he was even able to sneak in at one point.
Really? And filmed a lot of stuff that happened there?
Yeah,
Jack Unterweger. It says serial killers Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger are the most famous on their list of people to have stayed there.
well, that's a whole episode unto itself. The Cecil is surrounded by mystery, and I kind of think that's part of the reason why Elisa Lamb's death is um, covered in twice as much mystery as your regular unsolved murder because it happened at the Cecil. Um, but yeah, so we want to try to do these unsolved mysteries, cases that have gone cold, and release them as often as possible to help bring attention to
Right.
these so many unsolved cases.
And the thing is too that I just want to bring up because I feel like we'll be hit with it, but there have been a lot of cases where I know there was a case where a mom and her daughter and the daughter's friend were murdered on a trip, and it happened to be by like the janitor that like worked at the hotel. And like, unfortunately, these things happen. So we're not saying that every time you go to a hotel something's going to happen, but it's always important, no matter who you are, where you're at, where you're hiking, you know if you're at the mall, if you're with friends, if you're at the movies, always pay attention to your surroundings. We are not victim shaming or anything like that, but we're just reminding, like, just be aware of your surroundings.
That's very true. I'm really quick before we wrap it up. You totally remind me of Natalie Holloway. Remember Natalie Holloway?
Yes, I do. You're right.
Okay, that could have been the difference between life and death had her friends, I'm not blaming the friends again, like,
Right.
but safety in numbers, I think it's not stranger danger just for kids, man. It's stranger danger for
For
adults too.
adults. We had a situation, and it's not to you could find it on a different one of our podcasts, but remember that freaky situation I had when I went to that Dutch Brothers, and there was that guy, and he was recording the worker, who happened to be this very pretty, thin, young girl. This girl could not have been maybe more than maybe 17, 18, 19 years old. And he was in his van. I don't ever know what happened to that. But he was recording her, because you can see him and you could see her on his screen.
Recording or taking pictures.
I think he was doing both. But
Uh,
I could remember seeing her, because I remember a couple flashes, but then
yeah,
I remember, that little red light,
yeah.
and it looked like a countdown thing. Now, I don't have the greatest eyesight, but I remember it bothered me enough to be like, I have to say something. And I didn't want to come off as the freaky lady, in the white car, right? Like, I didn't want to do any of that. But at the same time, I thought, if that was my niece Heather, like, or if that was someone I really cared about,
That was my son Tyler.
if it was my son, like, the thing is like, say something. Just, even if it might not even be you someone's after, but if you see something, we had this friend once. I'm just going to share this real quick, but I remember hearing it, and every time I go anywhere, I think about this. Well, at the mall closest to me, there is like a Barnes and Nobles, and there's a Starbucks inside. And there was a guy that told me once, if you are ever inside a Barnes and Nobles and there is someone sitting there and they're reading, but they have a phone in their hand and it's just above the book, they are not reading that book. They are scoping things out. Like, always be aware of that. Always make sure little things. If you're a student, make sure those things on your backpack, make sure they're loose enough so if someone grabs your backpack, your arms can slide right out. There are things you have to be aware of so that you can get away from a situation, and do your best to never go to a second location.
Yeah. And if you're at a
Make a scene.
Starbucks,
Even if they're going to hurt you, let them hurt you in the parking lot. Being hurt is better than them taking you somewhere private where worse things may happen, but
and Sonny, right? If you're at a Starbucks and there's a man or a woman just at Starbucks only drinking coffee,
there's something.
there's
That's
something.
a joke about a meme we saw once, and it always makes us laugh. But we want all of you, our viewers, our new people, coming to check us out. Stay safe, and we care about each and every one of you, and we want the best for you. So, with that, we hope you liked our first edition of our Unsolved Mysteries from the Box People. Box People,